Okay, hello, and for this video we're going to be looking at discriminant and how we can use it to solve problems. Discriminant is getting into some sort of beginner calculus and algebra. The main thing we have to be aware of is the quadratic formula. So x equals minus b plus minus b squared minus 4ac over 2a. With a, b and c being coefficients for this, where a is the coefficient of x squared, b is the coefficient of x, and c is the constant. But what is the discriminant? So the discriminant is all this underneath our square root, and we can use this to try and find the real solutions or the amount of real roots in our question. So if we think about this quadratic formula, if the value of b squared minus 4ac, if that is less than 0, then under the square root is going to be a negative number, right? Let's call that number just n. But for now, anyway, we don't know what a negative number is. Square root of a negative, we can't do that. So that means that for that there would be 0 possible roots because we can't have a negative, right? So no real roots. No real roots. Let's move that down. More. So we know that if b squared minus 4ac is less than 0, then we're going to have a negative number, right? And we can't have square root of a negative number. But what about if b squared minus 4ac is equal to 0? Well, we'd have the square root of 0, right? Which is just going to be 0. But that means we're going to have one real root. If we think about the quadratic formula and we have minus b plus or minus 0 over 2a, that is only going to be one number, right? Plus or minus 0 is still just going to be negative b. So that's why we only have one real root when b squared minus 4ac equals 0. But what about when that b squared minus 4ac is greater than 0? Well, n is going to be negative, isn't positive. We're going to have positive n, which means we can have a real answer with square root of a positive number. Well, in that case, we can add or subtract that from negative b, in which case we would have 2 real roots. So when b squared minus 4ac is greater than 0, we have 2 real roots. When b squared minus 4ac is equal to 0, we have 1 real root. When it's less than 0, we have no real roots. So hopefully that's just a bit of a recap of the discriminant and how we use it to discover how many roots our answer has to a quadratic. Roots being the amount of solutions. So let's use that to try and solve this problem here. So find the possible values of k for the quadratic equation tkx squared plus 5kx plus 5k subtract 3 equals 0 to have real roots. Well, for a question like this, if you didn't know it's going to be discriminant, the hint is they're talking about real roots or non-real roots. So in this case, it does mention real roots, so we know it's going to be the discriminant. But then, what we've got to figure out is, do they want less than 0, greater than 0, or equal to 0, greater than 0? Well, this wants real roots, so that's keys in the plural there. We know it wants real roots, not real root or no real roots. 2 real roots. Doesn't say 2, but because it's a plural, that's what it implies. So we want b squared minus 4ac is greater than 0. So b squared minus 4ac AC is greater than 0. But in this case, what is our B, our A, and our C? Well, we know our B is 5k, and remember to square it, minus 4, our A is 2k, that's the coefficient of x squared, and our C, you've got to be careful here, it's all of that there, the 5k minus 3. So that is our C, and that's all greater than 0. So then, if we expand this here, 5k squared would be 25k squared, minus 8k, in fact, expand that in a second, is greater than 0. Again, just keep expanding. Minus 8k times 5k is negative 40k. Minus 8k times negative 3 is plus 24k. That should be k squared. Is greater than 0. Okay. So we have 25k squared, subtract 40k squared is negative 15k squared plus 24k is greater than 0. We can factorise the k out, and we can also factorise 3 out as a common factor of 15 and 24. So then we have, I'm going to make it a negative 3, because I don't like having a coefficient or a negative number within the brackets to begin with. I mean, it shouldn't make a difference either way, that's just how I prefer to do it. So 5k, and then subtract 8 is greater than 0. Okay. We know one of the values of k is going to be 0. K is 0. And we also know if we then solve that, 5k minus 8 is going to be k equals 8 over 5, or 1.6. But remember, this question wants the possible values of k, so, and this is an inequality. So we need to convert our answer here into an inequality. Fairly straightforward. 0 is less than k, and k is also less than 1.6. It will be less than or equal to. If we think about our answer, so if k is 0, then we're left with nothing but minus 3. And minus 3 is definitely not equal to 0. But with 1.6, if we were to substitute that in here, it would be equal to 0. I won't go through it now, but you can do it yourselves if you want to. Substituting k's 1.6 into there, you should be able to get 0. So that's why we have to put our final answer into an inequality. Okay. And yeah, that's it for this video. Hopefully that's cleared up the discriminant, and we looked at a fairly challenging question there, so if you haven't heard the discriminant before and that question didn't make any sense, maybe have a look at some easier questions first, then come back to the video, and I'll probably put out a couple more videos on it. Okay, cheers, thanks for watching.